So, what did we learn about hurricanes in Florida in September? It's been a crazy week in Florida. The hurricane passed through Wednesday, Thursday. I can tell you I was on pins and needles leading up to the hurricane, just slightly missing the villages. It's unfortunate the people that suffered in southern Florida who really get hard with 100-mile-an-hour winds. My sympathy goes out to them. But we did learn something unique about the villages that I wasn't fully aware of. And it started before the hurricane was even on my radar. Nightingale 2012, no, Nightingale 212, he sent in one of my comments on the video looking for your 55 retirement, part of my 4-part series, part number 2, what I went through looking. He commented, and I'll put the comments up on the screen of what he commented on. But the biggest thing that sold him about the villages was their whole infrastructure to try to protect the homes and the whole community against flooding. And he was the first one that I even was aware that the villages did something unique. And I think we saw it last week. This is really the great part of the villages. I mean, in his research, he talks about how he's lived near the coast before, and, you know, the coast can be definitely dangerous when it comes to storms. He talked about how they can lower the ponds prior to the storm. They can flood the golf courses. They kind of do a lot of those things. And during the week, during the days preceding the storm getting there, that's exactly what the villages did. They started running and flooding some of the golf courses. They lowered the ponds tremendously to allow for excess water. Now, the villages was fortunate because I believe they got about 3 inches on Wednesday and about 3 inches on Thursday. So they probably got about 6 inches of storm, not the, 10, 20 inches that some of the other areas got pounded with. And you could see that with Orlando. Orlando had flooding problems. And I think it's because they couldn't lower the ponds or the areas near where people lived or by that nursing home that got flooded. They really had some issues. Nightingale really looked at this. This has never been on my list as a priority, but it now is. It now is. It's kind of after the fact for me. But I just want to highlight, this is what I've learned, is that the village's infrastructure has taken into account a lot of things, and it's probably because the development's been going for so long. So credit to the villages and all those people who don't like the bond or the infrastructure portion of each of the villages. This is a great thing, and never looked at it before in the same way as I have done over the past week. I feel that the villages, even if it got a bigger hit, and I'm also glad that where it's located. I've gotten comments before that the villages is too far north when you're looking at moving to Florida because it gets colder than the southern part. But now I have a new reason to look at where it is that it does take longer for a storm to reach the villages. So it has a higher potential of not being as strong as when it hits southern Florida. So my sympathies go out for southern Florida. And I also want to talk about, I really struggle. I was not there during the storm. And I want to thank the individuals, and they weren't all YouTubers. There was like a lady who went out on her back lanai and filmed at night or first thing in the morning, the wind and the trees that kind of, were losing its branches and the pouring rain to give you a feel. I also appreciate Rusty. He's a YouTuber. He also is a storm chaser. What better person to have in the Villages while a storm hits is than Rusty, who's used to chasing storms. And if you watch his video the morning after, where he tours around, I mean, he does show you his computer laptop and or iPad that has all the weather information on it. And he does a good job to show that we really did miss. We basically had some palms down that were in the roadway and that kind of stuff. And that can be easily cleaned up and avoided. There really wasn't any major flooding, but you could see that the ponds have gone back up. So I don't know how many inches the new infrastructure takes care of, but it clearly took care of the storm that went through. So I just wanted to put it out there. Another reason to look at the Villages, and what we learned was the infrastructure to handle stormwater is really something special that the Villages does. And they went through the effort of doing it before the storm got there. So thumbs up for the Villages and their infrastructure and storm drainage system. I just think it's a great thing. Hey, if you like this video, like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. More to come.